Doing, guys? That's it, right? We're on?
Yeah. We are on.
Away? All right. Right up, guys.
How you doing?
Good afternoon, guys. All right, I'm going to run through some of these knots because it's good to know whether we're on the rigging call or not. They're just good, handy knots. There are many knots, but I'm just not, so you're not overloaded. I'm just going to give you the ones that are most common that we use in the industry. Now, I'm just going to go through some of the stuff. If you know, obviously I'm just going to say anyways. But we'll start with just, there's different types of ropes, which is obvious. I got few demonstrations here. Static. Just brought a thin one just to show you how to tie between thick and thin. Different size diameter ropes. And your most common one that riggers use in the industry, nicknamed Derby. I prefer 3/4. It doesn't really matter. Whatever. When it comes to that, it's whatever you like and feel comfortable in your hand to pull. Less friction on the beams. So yeah, I'm just gonna give you. I'm gonna start right off the back with the most common one. Bowline line. It is said many different ways. I'm gonna stick to bowling. All right. I'm gonna use this one for the demonstration. Bowling is very strong knot. Very strong knot. I depend my life on it, and literally I've had to, and not for any emergency reasons, but yeah, I've actually hung on it. It's easy not to undo. The thing with knots, and that's why we use the ones I'm going to show you, the common ones, is because they're strong and easy to undo. Obviously, our world is about, nothing's permanent. We get it in, we get it out. And a lot of times, certain knots that people use, guess what? You struggle there. They're useful, they do the tactic, but to undo, oh boy, yeah, it's hell. Sometimes even to the point of having to cut it, whip out the knife and cut it if you have to, but not these knots. So, bowling. You gotta bear with me. I'm not new to this world, but this world of the Zoom thing and all this, I will say it, new. So I'm not even sure how to make it easier for you guys to see. Here we go.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Dana, do you have him on flip on that?
What do you mean flip?
Like the mirror thing so that his image
They're
on
trying
the
to
Zoom
flip
is not
something,
like-
I think the middle finger or
If
something.
you take the mirror off, he should be facing them as if he were facing them in a class. Do you understand what I'm saying?
He's facing the same way he is.
They see what I see myself, correct?
Okay.
So I think I'm able to hear just, unless you guys let me know if I'm gonna make it easier for you to see something. I'm trying to see how I do. Oh, there we go. I'll use this chair. So let's just pretend this is coming from the ceiling, from the roof, from wherever. That's right. Here's the other end of the rope. You start with just your loop. On a bowline, this loop, the first loop that you do, is what's gonna, when we ask for a size bowline, 3 foot, 1 foot, 6 foot, whatever size bowline, this is the loop that we're asking about to be that length. The one in my hand right now is about, I'll call it a foot, just to keep it in the picture. All right, so just to keep it simple, step by step. One little loop on top of itself. One little loop on top of itself. It just needs to be wide enough for the rope to fit through, right? As we start making a knot, once again, whatever size you're looking for, this is what we want. Just to keep it in mind, and I'll try to keep it simple for all of us in our industry. The size of this, if there's another person at the other end of this rope, with whatever you're tying, they're gonna pull. It is up to them what they want. All right? So it'd be best to ask them, what are you looking for? Don't just send anything and then that's not what they want. All right? So I always ask, what do you want? They may not care. A lot of times just because it's simple, short distance, lightweight, I'll even tell you, tie whatever you want. I'll deal with it. But some people are finicky, prima donnas. Just ask. It's better to ask, give them what they want for safety reasons so they can work easier and not have to compensate for something they don't want. And I've had to do that many times. So back to the actual knot, I had to just say that. Here we are. bring us back to where we were. Just a little flip up. From underneath, through the little loop, around the back. And back through that same little hole we started with. I'll keep it loose just so it can be seen. But obviously every single knot, cinch. Cinch. It's nice and snug. When it ends up completely tied, a bowline to me, and I'll just share it to me, looks almost like a tie going around somebody's neck. It's the tie. Necktie. Kind of reminds me of that. See? You see how simple it is? Look, all it takes is that to make it undone. But trust me, under load, that will never come undone. Always, any knot, leave yourself a 6-inch tail. Always. Just for when it... Different types of ropes stretch different ways, and you'll always be safe if you leave long enough on any of these knots. It won't be the knot that fails, but if you keep this, if you don't make this long enough, it can slip through itself and completely unravel. So always, any knot, leave yourself long tail. I'm gonna undo it, just so we kind of. Once again, I'm new to this on the TV thing. I'm usually teaching this every single gig, but with the person in front of me, and then grabbing the rope. So I'll start from nothing again. And I'm trying to keep the other side. There we go, something like this, so we can try to make it look like that's all we need, right? So just a flip up to make just that one little loop that all it needs to be is long enough for the other end to go through. So whatever the thickness of the rope, that's all you need. From underneath, that's why I'm just turning it so you can understand that I'm coming from underneath through it. I'll turn it that way. Around the back. And just back through that same hole that you came out of. Same hole. I'll keep it loose so it's easier to see. Now many times people do this. They'll go around the back the wrong way. Where you see, this is what not to do. Your tail ends up on the outside of the ring. On the outside. See, hopefully you can tell the difference on there. That's what not to do. Correct is to come up the hole, straight around the back without crossing the rope. So where your tail ends up inside, that's why I say the tie, the necktie thing, because the tie ends up inside. There's the gentleman's tie. Woo-hoo.
What's the name of this knot again?
Bowline, it's spelled B-O-W-L-I-N-G.
L-I-N-E.
L-I-N-E. Say bowline, bowline.
Yeah, it's spelled like bow.
Bowline?
Bow, like the bow of a boat.
Bowline?
And line. Yeah, so B-O-W-L-I-N-E.
Which is another way that I've heard it said, bowline. Like I said, when it comes to that, there's many ways of saying it. I'm just accustomed to bowling. But it is red, bowline.
Well, but on site we're gonna say bowling, right?
It's a bowling knot.
In our world, that's the way I've heard it 90% of the time. You know, we travel a lot and you hear it different ways. But we all know what language we're speaking. So yeah, bowling, bowline, whatever you want to call it, really. And it's, I mean, I will say this, all knots really just, from history come from sailing. You know, way before all technical stuff, sailing. So we just incorporated into this world. So that's where the names come from. If you know, you guys can look up why they're called that way. Not really anything to do with what we do now. We just incorporated from the sailing world, which has been going on for a lot longer. That's where these knots and ropes come from and their use. And once again, like I said, what really matters on a bowline will be your size of this loop. So when anybody says 1 foot, 2 foot, Our common ones in most arenas will be anywhere from 3.5 to 5.5 foot bowlings. And nobody's gonna ask you, unless they know you're new, maybe they'll mess with you to really take a tape measure to it. But you know, we guess. And in the asking for 3 foot bowling, you know, and it's, I will say this, you may get the term micro bowling, no air bowling, which means, I'll do it right here. It's the same knot, nothing different except for the obvious, if you're thinking what the term is already, micro, no air. The loop itself is as small as you can, as small as possible. And I'm going to leave a little something just so you can see the actual, so here's my little loop, the actual loop. Here's the knot, which actually the loop is smaller than the knot itself. So if you actually were, whatever you're tying to, they're asking for micro, obviously for the term itself, small. No air, as tight as possible, meaning no air between the loop and whatever it is you got tied in there. That's the term, no air in it.
Freddie, tell them a little bit about under what circumstances would you ask for a 1 foot or a no air or...
And that's why I said before, and I'll just add what Tara here wants me to explain, what I started before saying. See, there'll be someone else, the uprigger, at the other end of this rope. And you're tying something on for him. So we're the downrigger, all right? So it's going to matter to him what he receives. So it's what they want. So they may or may not express themselves. Like I said, even if the guy isn't telling me, I'm not going to assume. And I don't care how many thousand years you've been at this. Hey, dude, what do you want? What do you prefer? As long as he tells me I don't care, then all right, you don't care. I'm going to go at it with what I believe works. It's that sort of a communication. But to be proper, right, I'm just not going to assume. I'm going to let you tell me that it doesn't matter. I want to hear you tell me that I can do whatever I want. Or they're going to tell me, hey, buddy, please, 3 footer. And, you know, like I said, nobody's going to really ask you to take a tape measure. But if we're, you know, he feels like, hey, just make it a little longer, you know, a little shorter. All right, we kind of feel it. What I usually do in the rigging world, because it's going to be repetitive, you might be working with the same guy, moving down from point to point, rigging point to rigging point, is you feel it out. So I kind of, you know, measure it out. Oh, I think it's 3 feet to my waist. Okay, there, you know. And then he says a little shorter. So you kind of, you know, pick it out. And you kind of memorize that as you keep going, so you're not whipping out a tape measure. No need for that. And what it is for at the other end, why they want different sides, is because, and I'm just going to say this, there's various, the ceiling, is different size beams, different type ceilings. So I mean, I can go on and on for different types. We all know, we've looked up, hopefully, and whether they're open or not open, sometimes these beams, they're different. So what it is, the length is sometimes, when the rigger's actually standing on something up there, the bowling goes over the beam itself, and the way he can free his hands to work is he steps into this loop. I'm going to give me a second, I will make it right here, see it, just to show you guys, hey, we learned how to do this blindfolded. Look, no need to look. No need to look, nothing there. Hey, look, I did it. Right on. So what happens is the bowling goes over the beam, and he's straddling the beam, the uprigger, and he steps in this. So the weight's on this side, and just by stepping into this loop, you can free your hands. There will be nothing heavier than you can handle, or else we just turn it to different type of machine to use for that. But that's really the main purpose, is to the guy, or sometimes depending in theaters a lot. I'm going to use what I'm used to, and you know, in theaters. But go ahead, ask questions as I go if it's not clear, because to me it's very common. But in theaters, you got many things above you to put a ship or something, or tie something. I sometimes hang the loop. There's many things up there you can hang the loop. And so I needed a certain height for it to where I can work. Where I'm making the rigging basket to the beam, and this is hopefully.